Now we will look into the Slutsky approach. We have seen the Hicksian approach and how are we compensating demand curve using the Hicksian method. How we are removing the income impact from your price effect using the Hicksian approach. Now we look into the Slutsky. So we have already seen in the last lecture that how Slutsky is different from Hicksian method, and what was the main difference was that in Hicksian you are assuming that utility is your real income is basically your utility, but in Slutsky what you are assuming that your real income uh, is part your real income you are representing in terms of your purchasing power instead of your utility what was your Hicksian approach. So we'll see by graph that how it is different from your Hicksian approach, your Slutsky. So this is your initial curve, your initial indifference curve, the same thing what we had seen in Hicksian. This is your X goods, this is your Y good. Okay, and this was your income constraint. So this consider this is XA. So XA was your initial equilibrium goods demand. Now, because of as we had seen in Hicksian also, because of your income changes, sorry, not income changes, because the price P1 it reduces for X. What happens because price reduces, you can buy more of good X1. So your income line get changed. So earlier it was X1 here, now it become X2 here. After change in price P1. Now, as we had seen in Hicksian also, because of price changes, we will draw one difference in difference curve, which will be where this line will be tangent to your new indifference curve, and this is your new demand, and this demand is nothing but original demand where it has both impacts. So this price impact includes your substitution impact plus your income impact. So this is a demand where you have not substituted your real income impact. So now in Slutsky, in Hicksian, what we did, we kept your demand, your indifference curve same, and then we drew a new price line, not price line, drew a new budget constraint line, so that your utility doesn't change. That was the assumption in Hicksian approach. In Slutsky approach, purchasing power should not change. That means you earlier you were able to buy this bundle of goods. So here you had XY bundle of goods, you were able to buy this XAYA. But according to Slutsky approach, in new line also consumers should be able to buy this bundle. So your new purchasing line will go through this. Uh, so you need to draw a line which is parallel to your new budget line, and that should pass through this line so that your purchasing what you were able to buy earlier should able to buy now also. So that is your new line. So this is kind of little bit of messy. I'll draw it again so that it's more clear. Okay, this is older indifference line. This is your budget constraint. XA was the original price, original quantity which you could afford. Price changed. After price change, what happened? You got a new line, budget constraint line, and which will be new indifference curve on this, which is IC2, IC3, IC1. Now, as part of Slutsky approach, my budget line will change because price is changing, but I want to keep this, my purchasing power will not change. So I need to buy this consumption, these goods, what I was buying earlier also, I should be able to buy now also. So what I'm trying to do, I draw a parallel line which passes through this. So this is the line. I draw a parallel line to new budget line which passes through this line, this point. Now, so new parallel line passes through this point. Sorry, 1 second. And this was the old line. Now when you draw a new line, it passes like this. This was the old line. And the new line, after Slutsky adjustment, you got this a new line. So now what will happen? You have to draw a new indifference curve on this. Because this line was not parallel to your earlier indifference curve, so this is IC1. You are drawing a new indifference curve IC3 for Slutsky. So you see, this is the third equilibrium line you are getting, XB. XC considered. XB was this. XC. So this is your Slutsky adjustment, where keeping your purchasing line constant, you are drawing a new line. It has become a little bit messy because I'll draw it again, a bigger one, so that you understand it. But basic funda is that in order you will draw a new indifference curve, but your purchasing power remains the same. So you should be able to bundle of goods what we were buying earlier, you should be able to buy now also. So basically the new quantity what you are getting XC, it always is the greater than the earlier quantity. So your new line IC which lies, it always is more than your earlier IC in Slutsky approach if your price is decreasing. So this is your income, this was your earlier income effect for substitution effect, income effect plus substitution effect. After removing income effect and substitution effects, only substitution effect is there. This you are getting new price XC, which is after doing the Slutsky adjustment to your income. So just to summarize, in your Slutsky effect, what you do, instead of keeping your utility constant, your utility can change. You have three IC curve here, IC1, IC2 and IC3. IC3 is your Slutsky adjustment. So what you do, you change, you keep it the parallel, you change your initial bundle of goods. You do not change your initial bundle of goods. You want to keep, to be able to purchase your initial bundle of goods, so you want to keep that purchasing power constant. So in order to keep that purchasing power constant, when you draw a new line, you draw a new line parallel to your budget constraint, new budget constraint, that should pass through your old line, old purchasing power, where that is the old bundle what you had. So when you draw this parallel line, then you get a new line, then you will have to get a new indifference curve, which is IC3, and then you will get a new equilibrium point where it is tangent to IC3, and you will get a new X3 over here. That is your Slutsky demand after adjusting your real purchasing power. So next we will see the derivation of Slutsky equation. So Slutsky equation we have seen a little bit also in the last class when we are looking into price effect, substitution effect, and price income effect. So what is Slutsky equation? It is your price effect is equal to your income effect price effect is equal to your substitution effect plus your income change due to price effect. So last class we have seen derivation of all. So price effect when you are talking about here, that is your dx1, and we are talking about in terms of change in x1, price of x1. So dx1 dp1, because you're changing the price of 1. So that, and by keeping your income constant and your price of goods to constant. So this price is equal to your substitution effect. So your substitution effect, your dx1 by dp1, that means change in x when price of p1 changes, when you keep your utility constant and keep your price 2 constant. That is the one impact, and plus your income change due to price impact. We have seen this was x1 into dx1 divided by dm when you keep your price 2 constant and price 1 constant, because this is just the income input, so your prices will be constant here. So that is your Slutsky theorem. Alright. So your price effect is your substitution effect plus your income effect due to price change. We'll prove this theorem and see how it is derived. So we'll basically prove this whole formula, your substitution, your Slutsky equation. So I'll keep your Slutsky equation on top so we know when we are proving this. So your dx by dp1, keeping price to change and income change unchanged, is equal to dx1 dp1, keeping your price to unchanged and your utility unchanged, plus your income effect of price change, which is x1 dx1 divided by dm, keeping your price constant, both p1 and p2. And this basically is negative here. Negative, that means basically this is negative, and this is positive. So its effect is opposite of these two. So this will basically be minus instead of plus. Okay. So before we go forward to prove this theorem, we will look into Cramer's rule. You might have learned Cramer's rule in your school or college mathematics. So we'll just see a basic how to derive three variable function equation, and then we'll just apply this Cramer's rule while proving that Slutsky theorem. So Cramer rule is to solve your three variable functions. So I'll just give a very little brief so that you could understand that how we are using this Cramer's rule while proving the Slutsky theorem or deriving the Slutsky theorem. So your variable is x, y and z here. So in order to derive for x, y and z, what is the formula? X is equal to dx by dy. Oh, sorry, not dy. D. Y is equal to dy by d, and z equal to dz by d. And what is dx, dy, dz and d? That we'll see here. Dx, you have to derive the determinant, and when you're writing your determinant function, you have to take this in place of x, so 1, 2, 8, and then for y you have to take y coefficient 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then z coefficient 3, minus 1, 1, 3, minus 1, 1. That is your dx. Similarly, when you do dy, you have to replace 1 to 8 at the at the second function. So here you will have x coefficient 1, 2, 1 and 0, 2, 1 and 0, then 1, 2, 8, and then Z3 minus 1, 1. Similarly for dz, x coefficient you will write as it is, then y coefficient as it is 1, 3, 1, 2, and then instead of z you will write this constant coefficient 1, 2, 8, that is your dz. Now d, what is your d? Du is this part. So you will write x coefficient 2, 1, 0, y coefficient 3, 1, 2, and z coefficient 3, actually it's minus 3, minus 3, minus 1, and 1. Now you solve this dx, dy, dz, or for your determinant you solve this equation and then put it here and you will derive your x, your y, your z. So this is just the basic of Cramer rule to solve your 3 into 3 equation, which is x, y, z, and 3 into 3 determinants using that. So we'll use this while using our Slutsky. Okay. Now, so this is our Slutsky equation. This is we are going to prove. Now, our normal demand function, normal Lagrange function, which is L U X Y U X Y plus lambda M minus P1 X1 P2 X2. That your utility, or this is your income constant, and this you are putting into Lagrange function. We have seen it lots of time. Now, what you have to do? You have to differentiate it with terms of x1, in terms of x2, and in terms of lambda. This is your three variable here, x, y, and lambda. If we are doing xy, then we should put xy here. Okay. Xy. This will become du by dx minus lambda x, lambda p1 equal to 0, du by dx dy minus lambda p2 equal to 0. This will become m minus p1x minus p2y equal to 0. You are getting three equations out of this, and now you have to write the total differentiation of these three equations, and then we will resolve using Cramer. So total differentiation of these three equations, I'll just write it here. You can Google it how to derive the total differentiation function, but I'm just going to write it here, and then once we write the total differentiation function, we are solving that using Cramer's rule, and then deriving and trying to prove this. So total differentiation for this, and it will be u dx plus minus p1 d lambda is equal to lambda dp1 for first one. Similarly for second one, in u dx will be written in, will be like u11 dx plus u12 dy. And what is u11? Uij, you can say it is double differentiation of u di dj. That is your u1. So when you say u11, this is du by dx, du by dx. So double differentiation in terms of x. u12, if you say u1 is du by dx, u du by dy. So that's your du12. So I'm just writing it in a notation. Again, u21 dx for second equation, u22 dy minus p2 d lambda equal to lambda dp2. That is for second equation. And third equation, it would be minus p1 dx minus p2 dy is equal to dm minus plus x dp1 plus y dp2. That is the three equation, and three variable what we are going to derive is for dx, dy and d lambda. And d lambda is 0 here. We don't have any lambda function, so 0 into d lambda you can see. So dy and d lambda we are not concerned about, because we just want to know dx, which is change in quantity x. So uh, our aim is to find the change in quantity x, which is your price effect for x. So change in price, because of change in price, what is the change in quantity x? So that is our main aim. So we are what would be your dx according to your Cramer's rule? What we have seen. So that would be dx will be, you will look into this 3, which is d lambda dp1 lambda dp2 and minus dm plus x dp1 plus x dp2 y dp2 constant, and then we'll put y coefficient here. Y coefficient is u12, u22 and p1 minus p1, sorry, minus p2. Y coefficient, x coefficient we are not taking. And then z coefficient is minus p1 minus p2, and z is 0 here, so 0. So that is your dx. So I'll just remove these whole equation and just put, yeah, and just put this here, dx. Now in order to solve dx, uh, we have this and divided by d, right? So what we need to do, we need to find the determinant of this and then divide by determinant, whole determinant. So you will write what? Lambda dp1 this. So you will take out this, and then this is this you will have to. So what is this? This is your d11. So determinant 1. For d11, this will be the value, and then you take lambda dp2, this one, then this is d21, and plus you take the third one, which is minus dm plus x dp1 plus y dp2 into determinant of third, d31, divided by d. Okay. Now the first, see the first one. We'll take from here. You want to take your income effect. So once you want to take your income effect, what does income effect means? Your change in prices are 0. There is no change in price, only change in income. So your dp1 will be 0 and dp2 will be 0. Right? So this becomes 0, this becomes 0, this becomes 0, and only this remains. So your dx becomes dm minus tm into d31 divided by d. Alright. So now what is your dx by dm? Dm, if you put it here, dx by dm, this becomes d31 divided by d, whole determinant, minus. And this is dx by dm when your p is constant. Right? That's the one. Dx by dm when p is constant is d31. So this is your equation 1. Okay. So now we'll just remove everything here and just put the equation 1, which is dx by dm, giving the p constant was d31 divided by d. That was one equation. Now second equation, you have to keep price constant, price to constant and m constant. So that means dm equal to 0 and your dp2 equal to 0. So this becomes 0, dp1 will not be 0, dp2 will 0 and dm 0, dp2 0. So what remains your dx equal to lambda d11 dp1, this will become 0, dm is also 0, dp2 is also 0, so plus x dp1 into d31 divided by d. Now bring p here, dx by dp1 become lambda d11 plus x d31 divided by 3. So this is another equation, and this is when your m is constant and p2 is constant. So we'll just write it here along with this. Along with this equation, we'll write along here dx by dp when your p2 is constant and your m is constant is equal to lambda d11 plus x d3 by d, d31 by d. Okay. So now you have derived these two. So this is derived. This is derived. Now we will derive this dx1 by dp1. So now dx1 by dp1, we are saying when utility is constant and p2 is constant. Utility is constant means this becomes 0 and p2 becomes 0. So these two 0, that means dx becomes lambda d p1 d11, other things are 0 0 and then d. So dx by dp1, when your utility is constant and your p2 is constant, is lambda dp1 divided by d. So that's your third equation. So now we'll write the third equation here. Sorry, dp by dx. Sorry, dx by dp. So we'll write the third equation here. Dx by dp when your u is constant and p2 is constant was lambda d11 by d. Now you just have to put these equations. So what you will see, dpm is equal to summation of this, which is this, and summation of this into x1, which is this. So ultimately your dp by dx, which the second equation, becomes dx by dp1, which is your this equation, plus minus d31, and you multiply this by x, so this becomes this. So that is your proof of your Slutsky theorem. Now just to give a brief and summary of what we have seen today, we have seen income effect, we have seen price effect, we have seen substitution effect, then we saw the Slutsky equation. Slutsky equation, which we saw, where your price effect was equal to your income effect due to price change, to price change plus substitution effect. So basically your price effect dx by dp1, when you keep your income constant and your price of other goods constant, is equal to your substitution effect where dx by dp1, when you keep your utility constant and price of other constant, and minus x1 into your income substitution effect, which is dx1 by dm, keeping your price constant. So that's your Slutsky theorem. We saw how to prove this theorem. Slutsky question. And now we also saw the Slutsky method to compensate, to derive compensated demand curve. Demand. So basically, we saw income effect, substitution effect, price effect. We saw how price effect is equal to your income effect plus substitution. Your substitution effect plus income effect. That has risen due to your price effect. And we saw the Slutsky theorem for this, how to derive that. We also saw how to compensate income using your Slutsky method, where we were keeping the purchasing power constant and trying to derive a new demand function by compensating for your income loss or gain. So this is the whole income effect and substitution effect for the today's class. I hope you liked it. We will next class we will look into the revealed preference approach, which is the new approach for the ordinal. This is a new ordinal approach. Then your indifference curve approach, where you can derive your utility. You can measure your utility.